Hey guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. If you're new here, karibu sana. So today I'm talking about the differences between Africans and African Americans. So I have seen this narrative of like people doing videos, mostly like stating the differences, but in like a way of putting one of the groups down. So I recently watched a video and the parties were like, they had a group of like Africans and they had a group of African Americans. But then what I noticed is like both parties, they were born and raised in the US. So I was like, okay, and I know there are Africans who have migrated to the US and they can basically speak on their experiences. But then I feel it's like the two groups who are born and raised in the US, the experiences are those of Black Americans. So I feel like it's very misleading for people to like be out there like speaking on the experiences of Africans while they've never been to their motherland. So, and I know they can, but it's like just I feel like they speak in a way of putting one group down and maybe uplifting the other group. So today I'm gonna talk about the differences between Africans and African Americans. As we both know, one of the similarities between Africans and African Americans is that like we have a shared ancestry, which is Africa. Okay, so as far as we are going to be highlighting the differences between Africans and African Americans, I feel like it's very misleading not to highlight the similarities between the two groups. So we share similarities, but the main similarities is like we are all Black. Okay, even though I feel like for African Americans they are more diverse in terms of like their Blackness, because they are mixed with Europeans. Most of them are, some are not, but I feel like because of them moving away from the continent for so many years ago, it's like for them it's like they have the ancestry of Africa, but then it's like diverse, very diverse. So Africans are Africans by, of course, by ancestry and also by living in the motherland for all these years. But there are differences between Africans and African Americans, even though we do share ancestry. First of all, we have a difference in language. Africans in the motherland in Africa speak, most of the Africans speak more than like 3 languages. You find out somebody is speaking, let's say talk about 3 languages. You find somebody speaking the colonial language. For example, in Kenya we speak in English, that's our colonial language, and then we speak in Swahili, mandatory. It's also a national language, it's mandatory. Like in Kenya, everybody knows how to speak in Swahili, unless you just did not want to learn how to speak in Swahili on purpose. And also we do speak our mother languages. We have 47 tribes in Kenya, so everybody knows how to speak in English and how to speak in Swahili. Even it might not be perfect, but we do know how to speak in those 2 languages plus a mother tongue. There's some people who know 1 mother tongue, and there are people who know like 3 mother tongues. So it depends. Maybe your father comes from 1 tribe, maybe your father is Maasai and your mother is Luo, so most probably you're gonna know 2 of the languages. Other times it's like you're Kikuyu and then you move to an area where like the Kambas do live, and you just learn how to speak the language through assimilation. So they start. So Africans do speak so many languages, like it could be 3, it could be 4, and African Americans mostly speak in English, but their own dialects that they have as African American community, because it's like they were forced to like assimilate and to learn how to speak in English by force. So they actually lost the languages that the forefathers knew when they moved, or when they were taken away forcefully from Africa. So that is one of the difference. So you see such a difference, like language, that is something that is like, it's not supposed to make us feel like, okay, now we are different, or like one group is supposed to be put down or the other. Africans should not come out saying that like Black Americans do not have a culture because they cannot speak a language, while they were forced to assimilate, okay, to speak this language, even though they have been able to develop their own like dialects in English. So I feel like that is a valid difference. It doesn't like make one group feel superior, but that is just a difference that you can clearly see. So the other difference is like life experiences. African Americans grow up around opportunities and in a more developed country and in a more structural country, first world country, and Africans, on the other hand, grow up experiencing economic difficulties, dysfunctional government, all of these problems. There's hardships, there's lack of education sometimes, there's illiteracy, there's being primitive at the same time because of the experiences and not being able to be exposed to chances to make them more successful. So, and I know some people will come at me with like, no, Africa is not that, but I have to say, like, the African Americans have better opportunities in succeeding in life than Africans. We are in the same world, but we are in two different economies. Like for example in Kenya, like, you go to school, okay, I think education have been very highlighted, especially in the early 2000s. So many people went to school, and now that everybody is almost educated, we are out here looking for jobs. There's no jobs. But I feel like African Americans grow up, it's not like automatically being given a chance, but it's like at least you have a better chance at succeeding. So the other thing is like Africans who grow up in Africa, definitely, like, we are the majority, like we have a whole continent to ourselves of black people. So mostly Africans who grow up in Africa who do not have racial discrimination around them. You just grow up knowing like, okay, everybody is supposed to be black, and that's why you've seen people or like white people coming to Africa and they go to some villages and everybody is staring, because it's like seeing a white person in our village is like, oh my gosh, where are you coming from? Because majority of us are black. So it's like we do not face that racial discrimination. What we do face is ignorance from people, and people who dislike themselves. There are black people who dislike themselves, and that way whenever there's like people from other races, they tend to like uplift them. They tend to make them feel better than they allow themselves to make other Africans who are like them feel. For example, when you go to restaurants, especially, I have highlighted that in my channel. I did a video talking about why Africans are racist to other Africans. I don't feel like it's racism, but it's just self-hate, which they direct to other people who look like them, because it's like, okay, we are supposed to be failures, why are you succeeding? We are supposed not to afford to be at good restaurants, why are you at a good restaurant? So I feel that is just basically what we go through. We don't literally go through like the type of racism that African Americans have gone through for ages, for centuries, and fighting for their rights to be black, you know. So I feel like that is a valid difference. African Americans go through a lot in terms of experiencing racism and all of that, but in Africa you don't experience that because majority of the people in Africa are black. So the other difference is like the culture. In Africa, most people do have their culture, and they follow like a particular tradition. All the communities in Kenya, for example, we do have our own traditions, while African Americans do have their own tradition that they were able to make after they got to the US. So it's like all the groups do have their own tradition and their own history, but then many people do feel like African Americans do not have a culture. But it's like they have their own culture, which is rooted in like their own confidence, their own resistance to slavery, the resistance to like oppression, you know. So I feel like both parties do have a culture, but for the Africans tends to be like more traditional, more of what the forefathers were doing. For African Americans, it's their own culture that they were able to develop after they lost the one that they had before they were taken forcefully from Africa. So that is also a valid difference. So it's like I've been seeing people make videos talking about like African Americans don't have a culture. They do have a culture, and if you stay close to African Americans, you'll be able to learn very quick that they have their own type of food, soul food. Also, I feel like people say that Black Americans don't have a culture when we continuously we continuously as black people do learn from them. We do learn from them. We do learn their music. We do like to exalt their music. Actually, I feel like even the influence of African Americans is very global, while the influence of Africans is just local. Like right now, music that is made in Africa, mostly because of the tribal languages and all of that, does not get a chance globally. Well, the music that African Americans do make global headlines. Everybody assimilates to become like them. For example, the baggy jeans, okay, the baggy jeans that right now almost everybody is wearing. I've even seen almost everybody, all races are wearing, and that is a culture from African Americans. So it's like, I feel like it's kind of like misleading to say that African Americans do not have a culture. They do have a culture, but theirs is rooted in resistance. Because I feel like Africans who say that like African Americans don't have a culture, it's like you can never know what it's like to be African American because you've never been one, and you can never, and for the African Americans, they can never know what it is like, and the experiences that Africans do experience in the motherland. So it's kind of like different, and that's why I feel, even doing this video already, I want to highlight that this difference do not differentiate. They should not be they should not be used to like differentiate us in terms of like putting each other down, but they should be used to highlight our ancestry. So the other difference, the other difference is like our way of dressing. Africans tend to like wear traditional clothes that are made out of lassos and all of these things, while African Americans, their clothes is they have developed their dressing out of their own swag, because of the whole culture that I'm talking about, that African Americans were able to assimilate when they got there. So it's a mixture of different cultures, mixture of like Africans, mixture of Black Americans, and also a mixture of European styles. So we have different type of styles, okay? So, and also we have there's a difference between, because Africans tend to be more reserved and traditional, while African Americans tend to be confident, expressive, and I feel like African Americans are more like, the things that they go through and whatever make them to become who they are really calls for them to be confident, you know, and sometimes to be aggressive, because it's like, if I'm gonna fight for my right to be Black, then I have every right to be aggressive. So I feel like people do misunderstand African Americans, and so many people say that like they are aggressive and they are okay. There's this whole thing of like people saying that like African Americans are hostile and all of that, but think about it. If you're in the same situation, you will probably tend to like assimilate, or you not assimilate but to resist, and that resistance might be taken in a wrong way. So while Africans tend to be more traditional, which I feel is one thing that I've been used to be able to like make African and African Americans start to like each other, because there's some races who like the African way of life. They like the way that Africans are reserved, they are traditional, they are silent. You can easily manipulate an African, but it's not easy to manipulate somebody who is African American, because I feel like they've been through so much already. So it's like, no, what are you gonna tell me? While with Africans, I feel like we are not confident, because for example, our governments, we have dysfunctional governments. We come from third world countries. We grow up with so much struggle, which means like we already feel like we don't have a place around we don't have a place around the dinner table with people who are doing well in life. Okay, there are Africans who are already doing well in life financially, but still you'll find them to be like reserved, collected. Look at African presidents. We do have African presidents who are articulate, who are confident, okay, but they are mostly confident in their motherland. When they go to European countries, they go to the US, you'll just find that this person is so collected, so traditional, so silent, because it's like, what am I gonna say? And literally my country is a third world country, okay? So as you can see, the differences that me as a person I can be able to highlight are just things that are on the top. I would literally, I wouldn't call them superficial, but there are things on the top. It's like a different way of life. Even though we are similar, we have a different way of life, and we have been able to diversify in different ways. For Africans, it's more about like the languages, the tribes, but then for African Americans, it's more about their history, how they got there, and all of these things are what make African Americans to be who they are. So even though we want to highlight the differences between African and African Americans, I think by now we can both agree that like you cannot be able to talk about the differences without talking about the similarities, and the fact that like we are different but we both share one ancestry. So I want to hear you guys' opinion. So what do you think? What do you think is the difference between Africans and African Americans, and which part do you, okay, and what are you? If you're African, let me know what do you think about African Americans, and if you're African American, let me know what you think about Africans. And well, on that, do you think, let me just mention a stereotype for, do you think that Africans are lazy or ignorant? And do you think that African Americans are like arrogant? Do you think that they are aggressive? What do you think? Let's debunk on those stereotypes, and let us know what we think about each other. And with this video, personally, I would just like to spread love. Let us love each other. The moment we love each other as Black people, we will be able to conquer the world. And this is what I'll keep spreading on this channel. As Black people, if we do not unite, there's no time that like we shall be respected as a race. There's no time that racism will end if it doesn't end with us. If we don't like ourselves, who is gonna like us? So thank you so much for stopping by my channel, and until next time, bye bye.